welcome everyone. I brought my Belichick sweatshirt here. I thought, man, I could really kick off this press conference in good fashion. But one, I don't probably deserve to be in the same sentence with him, and two, he might not be the best at giving information, and so I don't know. You'll judge me after this meeting to see if I give you enough information, and maybe not. Maybe you guys will leave here with the thought of, well, we really don't know everything about this team, because honestly, I don't just yet. I love our options. I love our talent, but like most years, we want to play this out and take these first 8 games at home, especially to give guys the opportunities that have earned the right to get the opportunity, and then just see how this season gets off and see who gets hot and who plays well. And, meeting with my coaches, we talk about all the options we have, position player-wise. We talk about the scenarios with our pitching staff. And honestly, it's a good feeling to know that we've got a lot of versatile players, both position player-wise and pitchers on the mound that have done a little bit of everything. So with that, I'll kind of open it up to some questions, see what you guys got.
We have mics, so please get those.
Yeah, damn it. I saw you guys were picked as the favorite to win the ACC, and I think you're as high as 4th or 5th in some of the national polls. Do you share that level of optimism?
I haven't said anything to the players about it. I don't know if say we're immune to it. I mean, they're college kids, so I'm sure they read it. I just think a lot of the older players, what we've been through the past couple years, the lows and the highs, and I think you see what's happened in college baseball and probably college athletics in general. But it's not something we talk about, and I haven't even addressed it. I'll make general comments about where people see us, but we talk a lot about knowing who you are and don't let others outside tell you who you are, and probably more about just be where your feet are and do it now has been one of our phrases. And so it's just really more about right now. What can we do right now to be as good as we can be, knowing that we obviously got to get better.
Dan, you were talking about pitching. When you look at this staff, how do you and Coach Williams manage? It seems like a lot of arms. It seems like a lot of potential for guys that could start. How do you even start and to begin to manage the rotation?
I think when you talk about our pitching staff, and it's been like this, when you go back to Chad Green and these guys that, they start in the bullpen and they're very effective and they get more outs, and Justin Amlung, and you get more outs, and McKay started, most guys in college, Adam Wolf, you start in the bullpen and you show you can get outs, and then, okay, can this guy turn a lineup over, and durability and all these things. And so I think you look at Keener and Hawks, 2 of our older pitchers that have started in the bullpen, had a lot of success last year, obvious candidates to start, and that's a goal of theirs, and they want to be starters. But we do realize, man, one of those 2 guys would be an awesome closer because of their experience, their talent, their toughness, and they're durable. And that's where Coach Williams does a great job of just, hey, guys, opening weekend, this is what we're going to do. That could change in weekend 2 and obviously weekend 3. The nice thing is we have 4 non-conference weekends before we play somebody else, as the question was asked about where we were picked in the ACC. I mean, you have 26 non-conference games. They're all important. But, you're really, your reputation is based on what you do in those 30 ACC games. And so that's such a pivotal goal of this program is to yes, try to be the best in one of the best baseball conferences in the country. So try to win these 26 non-conference games, try to get off to a great start, but use these first 4 weeks total, to see how everything unfolds. And so from a pitching staff, but I think of guys like Greg Ferrone, very talented left-handed pitcher here. He's been used as a starter most of the fall and the spring. Who's to say he doesn't close first weekend. Let's see how he looks on the back end. You have talented guys like Corbett and Galvan, older pitchers. Maybe those guys are good enough to get the last 3 outs. Webster, So I always start with the older pitchers, their versatility, because ultimately that's going to allow us to be the team that we want to be. Because you have hiccups throughout the year, you have some setbacks, you have some minor injuries, hopefully just minor. And so the more versatility you have on the pitching staff, I think the better you'll be able to handle those curveballs throughout the year.
Dan, is this becoming catcher you? I mean, you've got another great one in Jack Payton getting a lot of preseason accolades. One, how's he handling that preseason attention, and what does he mean for this program behind the plate?
He comes from a great baseball family, and so he always showed up. I always thought he was probably years ahead of his age. And he got to play with Henry Davis, and then he got to play with Dalton Rushing. And so I'm excited that we have a couple young catchers that get to play with Jack. So I'd be surprised if he ever got too comfortable with any preseason accolades or anything like that. I mean, he's old school. We call him a hockey mentality, play with a chip on your shoulder. And it's been fun to watch his growth and maturity throughout the process. And I think Coach Snyder, Coach Vrabel have done an unbelievable job with him, especially Coach Snyder in the catching world. So just a tough competitor. The bat, is an elite bat, like a lot of our catchers have been elite bats. And so whether he's catching or, as we like to play some younger guys, he's a great DH. It's not easy to be a great DH. So a lot of guys want to do it, but it's hard to have an at-bat and sit in the dugout for a couple innings. So Jack also gives us that versatility there, that making sure his bat's in the lineup every day and helping this pitching staff. As we talk about the versatility and all the options we have, it takes great catching to make it all come together. So guys can ultimately, pound the ball in the strike zone and get outs. I think we did such a good job of that last year. Just getting outs. We want guys to run out there that are just hungry to get outs.
Hey, Dan, I feel like a lot of the messaging or mentality last year was getting back to where you guys are used to being after missing the tournament. But you go to a super regional last year, and I guess how does that sustain or change the mentality back to guys? We're back to where we're used to being, and how do we move forward from that?
It's a little bit of both, right? It's a little bit of, hey, we were on edge last year, and that's a good thing to be. Like, you felt like coming off of a down year, oh gosh, the chance of them having back-to-back down years, the elite programs, it could happen, but there was no way we were letting that happen. Or give the players credit, they weren't letting it happen. So it's that balance of, always have that edge about you. As we say, last year, the focus was on the standard, and we called it set the standard. Well, as I've learned in coaching, you have to set the standard every year. And these guys are only here for 3 or 4 years. So as the coaches aren't changing, the players are the ones that are living the standard. So we can be on top of you as much as we can, but we're not with you 24/7. So my hope is that those players, especially those guys that are juniors and seniors, they were here 2 years ago. And then they were here last year. So we're challenging them to make sure they set the standard again. We just filled out all of our goals, our expectations, our nitty-gritty goals, our whys, and all that good stuff. And we'll meet this week, kind of put it all together, and just, hey, guys, these are the standards, again, of the program, and let's uphold the standard or set the standard. And doesn't mean we're going to be perfect, and we're going to make mistakes, but we just have to be able to address them and hold each other accountable.
Dan, you mentioned this team kind of being a little bit of a mystery, I guess. How does that compare to maybe previous teams? I mean, you always have a little bit of turnover, but how does that compare to previous teams, and what, I guess, makes this one a little different if it is?
It's a good question. There's always a couple players that surface and have great years. Every year you look at the fall, the summer, the previous year, and you go, wow, I had no idea that guy was going to have a monster year. And I think we know that as coaches. There's going to be several guys that step up. You go, man, I didn't know that guy was a superstar. And I'm not saying we didn't know he was a superstar. We didn't know if he was going to do it this year. So that's the exciting thing. When I talk about position players, I look at Peyton, McCoy, Beard, Knapp, and Humphrey, guys that obviously the most consistent, the most at-bats, the most production, McCoy being the new guy, but one of our best hitters. Then I look at all the other guys that have a chance to step in. It's time for Tyler Hawkins to give us something on a more consistent basis. Too athletic, has talent, but he's got to be able to do it. Mangrum is a really talented junior college outfielder that's going to play hard. Benson dealt with the injury bug last year, but super talented, tough kid, going to compete. Eddie King is kind of the guy that, because of the injury as a freshman, but he has a great summer. He has a really good fall. In the infield, I look at Anderson, Noah Smith, Willie Cook, 3 sophomores that have a chance to help us. 2 freshmen, Gavin Keelan and Patrick Forbes. A lot of talented players, but we're just going to have to let it shake out. We're just going to have to let these guys have these opportunities and see how they handle that role when the lights are on, as we like to say. Don't get too high, don't get too low. It's a talented group. So, from a position player standpoint, I can talk about the pitchers as well. Also in the position players, we talked about the catchers, Klein and Vierling. We got 2 freshman catchers that will take some of the load off of Jack. We like to make sure we have more than one catcher and rotate kind of who they get to catch and make sure pitchers feel comfortable. For us, it's about if we endure an injury, can we overcome? I don't like making excuses. I hate excuses, right? Excuses don't change man's love for the winner and scorn for the loser. I learned that from my coach, and I've said it to my wife 100 times, and she hates when I say it. But last year, Knapczyk had an injury. Hey, we can either make excuses at the end of the year, say we're not going to be who we are because our Team USA invite shortstop's out for a month, or we could just grind it out. And so we run Anderson out there, and we run Noah Smith, and we grind it out, and we win the ACC, right? And we still get to host a regional. So, for us, it's about making sure that this depth, this talent gets opportunities, and they're ready to go, whether that's in a starting role, whether that's coming off the bench, who's going to get the big pinch hit at bat, who's going to get the hit late in the game, who's going to make a great play, who's going to steal a base, all these things that we talk about. So I'm excited about the position player depth as well as the pitching depth. This is one of those years where we're going to have 5 or 6 starters that are going to get a chance to start in the first 2-3 weekends. A couple closing candidates. We got 3 or 4 or 5 different closing candidates. And I know Coach Williams just do a great job of, hey, guys, let's just get outs. Come on. Let's be 1-0 today, and let's come out on the winning end, and then we'll evaluate it afterwards. And ultimately knowing we will put these guys in the best position to succeed. But we got to let it play out.
How many spots do you have that guys clearly have shown that they will be starters, and how many really are still the competition is still going on?
Are you talking like position player-wise? Yeah, and I mentioned 5 names. It's hard to make a lineup out without those 5 names. And in the other 4 spots, you probably have 8 or 9 guys. And so for me, it's making sure they understand. We talk a lot about it. You might be in the starting lineup today, whether you get 3 hits or no hits. I'm thinking about playing another guy tomorrow. And as coaches, you hate to say lose, but the saying I had heard at a young age was you can't be afraid to lose in February if it will help you in May or June. Well, nobody's trying to lose. We just might not have the best guy in that spot in February. And part of that is we just got to run them out there and let them do it. But I hate losing. I don't want to lose. I want to win every game. And these kids have to feel like, hey, just if I'm in the lineup, I have a chance to help us win. So, but it's just about seeing how they respond. And it's similar with the pitching staff. As I mentioned, Hawks and Keener and some of the older guys, they'd love to be the Friday, Saturday starters. I know they'd love that. That they should want that. But they also have to realize, man, they're so talented and they can get outs in any role that, hey, maybe one of them has to be the closer. But that's why we want to try some of the new guys, a Ferrone, a Galvan, a Corbett. We got some talented freshmen that might. You never know. Like when I was sitting here years ago when McKay was a freshman, I did not know McKay was going to give us what he gave us. We knew he was going to give us something, but you just never know. Like you just never really know. We want these kids to know that we trust them, we believe in them, and that's why we're giving them these opportunities because they've earned it. They've earned the right to run out there and compete.
Dan, you've got a top 10 team, preseason top 10 ranked team. And in the ever-changing world of college sports, everybody always talks in every sport now about transfer this, transfer portal that. You don't have, the last 2 years, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't have a transfer onto your roster. How have you kind of kept it together in the model that a lot of people are not familiar with anymore?
I got to give our coaches a lot of credit. As I've always said, we're a developmental program, and that doesn't mean we're getting average kids and making them good or good kids and making them great. We're getting really talented kids. But the development of our program has been proven. When you look at the signing bonuses and the draft picks and the number of big leaguers and obviously what we've done between the lines here. So I'm so proud of our coaching staff, our support system, and the players. I think the real challenge nowadays is going to be the players. Are the players going to buy in? Are they going to be okay with redshirting? Are they going to be okay with not being in the lineup every day? We got to be careful too, and I challenge the media. Don't make it look like the grass is greener on the other side. We do a great job of glorifying the high-profile transfers who have success. I don't see anybody talking about the hundreds or thousands of transfers who aren't having success. So my fear is, and I'm not blaming the media, but you could be duping kids into thinking, well, if I just go to that school, I'm going to be a superstar. He did it. We had a guy in the Super Bowl last night. We're going to glorify that. He left. He's a superstar. But there's a lot of kids that aren't. And if you were to talk to the history of our former players, as we like to say, man, you're 3 feet from gold. Be careful. You could be 3 feet from gold, and you could go in another direction, and you never get to the pot of gold. So, yes, I'm proud that we don't have transfers. I got nothing against transfers, and I'm not saying kids shouldn't transfer. But I think that's kind of a mutual player, coach. Are we on the same page? And so we're always going to have kids that transfer out of our program because I'm going to sit down with them and say, hey, maybe this isn't the best for you, and if you what do you want your role to be? And more times than not, we'll be on the same page. So, believe me, I would love to win a national championship without one transfer in our program. I mean, I think that's going to be very cool if that happens. But I don't want to act like we're never going to dip into the transfer portal either. I think what's best for each school, what's best for each player, what are your actual needs? And the challenging thing we have is the draft, right? The draft is so yes, the draft could wipe us out one year where we have to be heavily invested in the transfer portal. But with the kids we're signing and the players in the program, as a recruiter, always preparing for the future, I think I got a pretty good idea what the lineup can be next year. I can't even give you the starting lineup today 100%, but I got a pretty good idea what I think the starting lineup will be next year if these kids stay bought in, and that takes belief from the players, the families, and obviously the coaches. The coaches have to believe that this is a good fit too. So it's something I am really proud of because they came here to get a degree from the University of Louisville. And going through the tough times, as Drew Ellis just sat on stage at the leadoff banquet. His freshman year wasn't fun. And he'll probably tell you his sophomore year wasn't the greatest year either. But, man, his junior year, it all clicked. And he's going to be remembered for what he did in that super regional weekend here for the rest of his life. Not to mention a second-round draft pick, an All-American, and a big leaguer. So we just want to make sure people understand that the Drew Ellis story is real, and it can be you, but you're going to have to deal with some adversity. You're going to have to go through some tough times.
Dan, how much does it help you and your program from a continuity standpoint, knowing that you've had Roger Williams your entire time you've been here, and you've had Vrabel and Snyder for almost a decade?
Stability is huge. You know, we talk about the standard, and the culture, right, is a popular word. To have one pitching coach, you know, so all the success, and my name gets mentioned an awful lot, but I don't, it's uncomfortable at times because I know, wait a second, Roger Williams has been a part of every win that, since I've been here, this program has achieved. Now, I always say he's part of all the losses too, right? So I got to, you know, he get to take some of those with me. Coach Mundorf, been here since day one. He was here before I got here. But yes, Coach Snyder and Coach Vrabel, it's hard for me to not brag about the development of our program, and never take away from the talented players we get. But man, if you want to develop, like if you want to get better, like really get better, I'll put our resume on the board up against anybody in terms of, and not just between the lines. We're talking on and off the field. We're talking academically and athletically. Sometimes we're talking socially, mentally, and spiritually. Like, there's a lot that we talk about. And when you have a consistent coaching staff, people that know your expectations, it takes away a lot of the time we have to spend teaching new coaches, new support people. We want to focus on the new players. That's what's so exciting is we'll get a new group in this summer, and so the door is so revolving, and all the guys going into pro ball, and it's just amazing how many guys are coming and going. And that's what the question about transfer portal. We're not even dipping into the transfer portal, and so many guys are coming and going. The stability of our coaching staff has been crucial to that. Huge.
Can you talk about the idea of coaching some of these young kids? You know, when anyone comes in here, they've been a star before they get here, and when they face some adversity when they're a younger kid, can you talk about the mental part of that on coaching a kid through, you know, some of his first struggles in a baseball career?
Well, we have a lot of patience when it comes to that, you know, because of the experience that we have, and we expect it to happen. You know, we do a thing called Hero Hardship Highlight, typically with our older players, and we don't even – freshmen are not involved in that. Not because they don't have heroes. Maybe they have a hardship. Maybe they have a highlight. But real hardship seems to come in college when we're talking athletically. Because, yes, to your point, they haven't faced maybe an injury, maybe an arm injury, but to get to a program like this, you had to be so talented, so consistent on such a big stage for so long, usually, that you don't have a good hardship to share. So we expect it. It's part of it. But once you're a sophomore on up through the upperclassmen, yeah, we love to hear your hero hardship highlight because your hardship's going to be very good for those younger kids to read about just the struggles you went through, and it's part of the challenge of coaching. But I can't act like we're the only school in the country that has to deal with it. I think every top program out there, they're recruiting the kids that we're recruiting, and the expectations are the same. So they're not immune from it, and we don't have any magic sauce that makes us, you know, from being any better than anybody else. I just think our experience, we are prepared for it, and the ability to communicate. I think you have to connect and you have to communicate. And so we spent a lot of time in the preparation up to the season and through the season communicating and connecting with these guys.
Dan, last month the D1 Council approved a measure to convert volunteer coaching positions into full-time positions, and you guys gives the ability to have 3 full-time assistants on a baseball coaching staff. For those who don't understand the practical implications of that for running a program, how does that benefit a baseball program now?
Well, it's unfortunate that in college baseball we've had, it's almost embarrassing that he was termed a volunteer coach, because find me another person in the world who volunteers their time 60, 70 hours a week, 12 months a year. I mean, it's like, but that's what we had it titled as this volunteer because we couldn't give them a salary and benefits. It's sad that we've had it like that for so long, and it's obviously a huge success for guys that have been coaching for a long time, that we can give a salary, we can give benefits, and in a lot of programs that gives him an opportunity to grow, because now they can recruit, they can get on the road, they can do the same things that your recruiting coordinator or your hitting coach, your pitching coach, and your head coach have been doing. Now you have that guy that can do it. For us, it allows us to elevate other people, because now give them more responsibility with our camps, give them more administrative responsibility, give them a chance to maybe earn some more income and more experience. I think so. It's a win-win in college baseball, and even for the schools that can't afford to pay that guy just yet. It's still to let that guy be able to get on the road and recruit and make connections. That was half the battle of this fight for so long for the so-called volunteer coach, that he gets stuck on campus, and he's great for practice and great for games and great for camp, but how is his career supposed to advance if he can't get out and recruit? Because it's hard to make it. I don't care what sport you're in, right? I mean, if you can't recruit. I mean, to me, that's where it all starts. That's where you cut your teeth, is in the recruiting, world, and that grind and that battlefield. And so I'm super excited that a guy like Adam Vrabel, who has been the coach in that role for so long, is going to get a chance to. And we've got several others out there that played at this university that were in that volunteer role. So I can tell you, we're celebrating on many fronts.
Dan, two follow-ups. You were mentioning first the outfield, just kind of the battle and how many guys you've got that you can use out there. And then also, do you anticipate some of those freshmen actually playing, right away this weekend?
Specifically in the outfield, or just the freshmen that were mentioned? Yeah, no, the freshmen that were mentioned, I can't say they're all going to play in this opening weekend, but no, we'll run out some freshmen. I mean, there's no doubt. One of the two catchers, Klein or Vierling, will definitely run out there. I think a Gavin Keelan has earned the right to run out there. Patrick Forbes is just really talented, and we got to do a good job with him, because he is a two-way player, as to how we utilize him to give him some opportunities. There are some freshmen I really, really like, and we'll just wait and see with like Lippy and Dickerson. We don't have to make a decision right out of the chute, but because of 5 older outfielders, I don't know if 2 of those younger outfielders will play just yet. I don't want to force them into a situation. Then you look up 2 months from now and they've played in limited games with limited at-bats. And then I think on the mound, all hands are on deck. I think every freshman has to be able to pitch and be ready because of the roster limitations, and we don't have a minor league system and we can't make trades. So this is what you got. And with arm care and, it seems like you got every pitcher. I'm just surprised if you're a healthy pitcher in today's day and age that you're not available to pitch and be ready.
You guys obviously start this weekend. Big league camps also open this week. Any of your former players you're really looking forward to seeing them really make a move and pop this year?
Well, the question is, when you say make a move and pop, right, I think it's getting to the big leagues. First, when you talk about the big leaguers, you make sure your players know how hard it is to stay. Like, you got to earn it, right, every day. and every year. And so for all those guys, I think we had 11 in the big leagues last year. Like, man, you want those 11 to continue to move forward. And then we have so many guys. I think we had 49 or 50 last year in pro ball. And there was a crazy number of high 20s or 30 maybe that were in AA, AAA, and the big league. So there are so many guys when you look at, because I'm always thinking of, okay, who can make it to the big leagues, and then who are we going to put on the stage? So Brian Hoeing made it last year, but we didn't put him on stage yet. So I think anybody you see in those camps, all those pitchers, Bobby Miller, Cade McClure, Nick Bennett, Lincoln Hensman, Adam Wolf. I hate to start naming guys because then I'm going to forget pitchers, And so I'm just thinking in the pitching world, Steven, throw somebody out if I forget them. But, so many of those, I think of the pitchers first. Now I'm sure there could be some position players like a Devin Mann or a Josh Storrs or Henry Davis. But to me, it seems like the pitchers are, just because they use so many arms and it's easiest maybe to get called up to pitch first. So, but Cole Sturgeon's been so close and Devin Harrison's been so close that, those guys get so close and, it's hard to keep up with, but it's a lot of fun. It's no doubt, as you mentioned, at this time of the year, several guys were here. They were in town. They rolled through. They said their goodbyes. We missed a handful of them. Weren't able to make the leadoff banquet because they were already down south or out west. And but we'll enjoy following them, no doubt. Celebrate, glorifying them. Sound good? Thank you. All right. Thank you.